a non-note space. So for example, most places will separate things by notes. If you notice, we don't do that.
Mhm.
So we really believe that notes are limiting. They're like directions. At some point, the directions can't be more powerful than the journey,
Mhm.
right? We have to reach a place of like when do we forget that, oh, I'm a musk girl or I'm an amber girl or I'm a this? When do we forget the fact that, oh, this is beautiful? Forget for a second what you are, and it's a non-binary world right now. We don't
Yeah.
need to limit ourselves to categories and directions and spaces. Like, try something out. And we also present the brands,
Hmm.
and like Matt had this idea in the inception. Oh, let's get rocks everywhere because our heart is rocks and it's
Yeah.
this. So we literally got the rocks from the quarries that are left over from the products that
From
we
a lot
made,
of that. Yeah.
and we used it as a feature, and we literally gear the rocks towards the lines that we see visually. Like, for example, Same Rose is all full of red rocks
Mhm.
because that's a sensual line to me.
Mhm.
And I think like that's more what the vibe is. We ask,
Yeah.
what do you want? Do you want a sexy scent? Do you want to feel fresh and airy? Do you want to feel mysterious? Do you want to feel funky? Do you want to smell like a shipyard? Like,
Mhm.
I feel like that's so much more like scents should be experiential. They're
Yeah.
projectors, project. Don't project a wood smell, project an idea. And that's what these scents are. They're really ideas.
Yeah, and also to see people like start with one thing and then realize they really liked something
Yeah,
else.
I love
Like
that.
that's the most fun thing to
Yeah,
watch, I
that's
think.
Well,
nice.
Like I
also,
think we all go through that.
yeah, and like also if you think about like so many notes, people haven't actually smelled like the raw material, and so it wouldn't be helpful to be like, oh yes, there's
Yes.
like labdanum was one I mentioned earlier, but like to say labdanum, if you haven't smelled labdanum, it means
Right.
absolutely
Yeah.
nothing. But if
Yeah.
you say it smells grainy, if you say it smells like this, it's like that's I don't know. I think that I actually think it's really cool that you don't have this fragrance language because you're just talking to people and you're both saying what you're
Yeah.
smelling,
Yes.
regardless of
True.
like what the
Yes.
like
Yeah.
molecule
Hmm.
is. And I think that's a great way to
Mhm.
guide
Yeah.
someone through fragrance.
Right. Just what comes to our mind, what we remember, what it smells like to us, or something like that. It's just what is words we can use to describe it
Yeah.
Yeah.
based on what we know, the language that we know. You know.
Yeah. I don't know if this was like sort of answering that a little, but the next question that I always start with at the top, even though we've like kind of gone out of order, is what is your fragrance hot take or controversial opinion?
Hmm.
Oh my God.
Controversial opinion. Well, I mean, I would say that we have to stop. In my biggest is was what I kind of spoke about.
Hmm.
We have to stop looking at fragrance in categories. We have to start looking at artisanal brands that are trying to tell a story and give us something to live through. You know, these brands, for example, Skogen, for example, the bottle right there,
Hmm.
Hex and Salve, right? So in the Dark Ages, witches took a broomstick and they put a salve on it,
Hmm.
and then and the terms "witches flying on broomsticks" come from they took the broomstick, stuck it in their vagina, and astral projected. That
As you
salve,
do.
yes,
As
you
one
do,
does.
yes,
Yes.
As one does.
minus the splinters. Um,
I'm
but
doing
We've
it right
all
now.
been there.
but you see, that is an idea, like that salve. And I've had some people in the shop say, yeah, that smells witchy. It smells this, it smells that. And it feels like I want to astral project right now. And you see, like, isn't that so much more of a cooler idea?
Mhm.
And I think that the artisanal creators, I don't want to use the word niche because it's also like a hot take. What is niche, anyways? If you're selling a
Yeah.
million bottles,
Mm.
how are you niche?
Yeah. There's
It's
so
like,
many like ways that people define niche, and
yeah,
I kind of accept all definitions.
Yeah.
Like I'm kind
it's
of like
true.
if you feel your niche, like let me hear you out. But
Yeah.
sometimes there's so much distribution or so much support behind. I'm like it's not really niche,
Yeah.
but it's interesting.
Right.
But I don't know. I think people differentiate now like niche versus indie, and so like
Yeah.
they say like niche is
Yeah.
more of like something quirky, not mainstream, not mass
Yeah.
tested,
Right.
but could have mass funding behind it.
Right.
That's debatable. And
Yeah.
then indie is really more like like maybe the perfumer is also the founder, or
Yeah.
they're not working with a major oil house, whatever.
Right.
But
Artisanal is a nice way to put it that we've
Yeah.
been kind of trying to
yeah,
explain it too, where it's like there's a lot of passion behind it.
yeah,
The entire package, the way the bottles are designed, the stories, the way that the perfume is made and the notes and all
Yeah.
that stuff. So
I love that. And that's how you described Texan salt to me.
Yeah.
And previously I had smelled I had gone through the Store Skogan line a few years ago. And
Mhm.
so these are like newer releases and I hadn't smelled those and I kind of had written it off because I hadn't found one that like really resonated with me. And then you showed me this one and Azalai
Yeah.
and I was like this is a perfect example of like I can't believe I almost like wrote off this line because
Mhm.
Yeah.
both of those new laundries were two of my favorite things I smelled in the store.
Mhm.
And I was like, "Ah, these are so freaking
But
good."
also, I think that people are able to explore some of the products we have better at our shop than a different shop because they don't stand against how do I say it? A concept that I'm looking for a signature scent. I'm looking for something that I love. Also, like I think that's something that you love is a waste of time.
Mhm.
You don't need to be obsessed with something to own it. You
Mhm.
know, how many shirts do I own? Too many. How many
Mhm.
jackets on? Too many. I would love to have too many cars too. I don't have that problem yet, but I would love to,
Someday.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
someday.
Someday, all of us.
All of
Good
us, we should
vibes,
all
Too
have
many
that
energy in the
cars.
problem.
air.
Yeah.
But, we should not have to be obsessed with something to experience something that's really amazing. For example, like to me, that oddity one uh, is just like if air had a fragrance, that would be it. You know,
Can we spray oddity as you're
Let's
talking
spray
as we're
it.
talking about it?
Let me test for
and I
you.
love that the cap
I
is
feel like we
heavier
set
than the
this up
bottle.
in like a way where like everything's okay. I'm gonna put some waters by you. There we go. And then I'll leave some over here. Okay, so what did you say oddity smells like to air?
If fragrance had an air, this would be it.
Yeah, I mean, I love the way that you described that. That's so
If
right.
air had wait, if air had a fragrance, this would be it. If
I
this,
knew what you
this
meant.
would be their collection.
Also, the
Yeah.
heft of the top of this
Yeah, it's
is
heavier than the
huge.
bottle. Wait, so
It's
that's
Aren't
what
they
I
all like
love.
it scares
Like,
me a
custom?
little bit. Yeah.
like this is a yeah. Hold this. Wait, and
Okay.
hold this in your other hand.
Yeah, the heft of it
Wow.
scares me a lot.
Like it
That's
is not a balanced knife.
okay. She's
When we
a
were
top heavy
shipping, we're like,
gal.
what weighs so much? Like,
Wow.
oh.
But beautiful cat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so beautiful.